Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Roundup. We've covered this week's X-Men books as well as Ghost Rider books, because there were two Ghost Rider books. So, moving on, though, we've got Amazing Spider-Man number 23. Where we left off, Spider-Man was facing mad mathematician Benjamin Raven, who worshipped the Mayan god Wayep, and has now become Wayep's emissary. Because doing so, and this story is set 6 months before the beginning of the series, the current run. His plan included sending Spider-Man and Mary Jane Watson to another dimension and making them into, basically causing them to be sacrifices for Wayep, and to restore the emissary status with Wayep. Peter and MJ ended up in another dimension, and they came upon someone who was also in said dimension, and but Wayep found them, and they found a potential way to get back. Spidey gave their travel device to the dimensional travel device to Mary Jane, telling her get in touch with the EFF, tell them what's going on, they can help. However, Wayep attacked, and because Spider-Man was intended to be the sacrifice, Mary Jane activated the device, the dimensional travel device, and gave it to Peter, sending him to back to Earth 616, and seemingly doing so, destroying Wayep. Peter arrived midair above Pennsylvania, leaving quite the large crater. So Peter takes off and removed the Spider-Man costume and buried it and ran from the cops. They were inbound. Found us all some clothes. Made it back to New York. Trying to find out figure out just how long he's been gone. He arrives at Aunt May's house, but Aunt May has a visitor who wanted to talk to Peter, Norman Osborn. And Peter throws him out of the apartment. Calms down and figures he's got to go back. He has to go back to that dimension, meaning he has to find the FF. They could probably help him get back. So goes back to the building, tells Ben and Johnny what's going on, and but Reed's not there. So Peter said, "Well, I need to use his lab." But Johnny explains that the feds found a Spider-Man costume at the scene of the extra-dimensional explosion, or at the extra-dimensional explosions in Pennsylvania, and well, Spider-Man needs to kind of clear things up with the feds. So Peter escapes, puts on his civvies, but Cap's waiting on him. He tells Cap what's been going on. Explains that, hey, clearing things up with the feds shouldn't take longer than a day, maybe two. And Peter punches Cap. And it looks like he even cracks the shield. But he manages to shake Cap. But he figures maybe there's someone else he can talk to help. Norman Osborn. And that is where the issue ends. I I like how this story arc is kind of picking up the kind of providing the setup for all the plot point for a lot of the plot points we've seen previously. The scientist that Peter and MJ ran into in the other dimension, for example, is very clearly the the guy that MJ's with in the present, for example. Moving on, though, to our next book, we've got Spider-Man number 7, wrapping up End of the Spider-Verse. Where we left off, it looked like Silk was going to be the chosen one, and she stole the totem dagger, using it on Morlun and releasing the essences of all the other spider totems he's devoured over the years. Meanwhile, the new Peter Parker of Earth 616 is putting something together that should help. And two of Shathra's corrupted spiders went to stop him, but Spider UK and I do not remember the other. I don't remember the specific other Spider-Man or Spider, but one of the others are helping him. All the spiders are free though, and they've landed on Earth 616. Morlun is severely weakened and in need of feeding, but first he has to hide. This will be picked up in the upcoming Web of Carnage. Shathra has also arrived, and, well, the spiders attack. Miles and Spider-Mobile show up, getting everyone from the other Earths that had been blocked off by Shathra, namely the, it looks like, Penny Parker and Spider, and then Mecha Strike, or Mech Strike Spider-Man, Leopardon, and Megamorph. Mech Suit Spider-Mans. But Peter Parker's made a device that might actually stop Shathra, and it seems to do so. And then the original Spider Totem, Naeth, appears and brings the totem, or the talisman they needed to bring back Jessica. And it works. Jessica Drew's restored. Then they try it on Peter, and he goes from being being Silk's best bud and protector to Spider-Man we all know and love. But Peter calls Aunt May, and she explains she had this strangest dream, thinking Ben was still alive and with her, and felt so real. And they decided to start doing a regular Thursday night dinner. Apparently Kane was also brought back, and among the others was a Spider-Boy. However, the amount of time he's been gone, everyone's memories of him aren't going to just immediately come back. But it seems that Earth 616 is the new Loom world. And everything wraps up well, and Peter swings out to follow a fire truck. That is where the issue ends. I liked this story. I really did. Spider-Boy it's already say that Spider-Boy is going to be a fairly major, going to be playing a fairly decent role in books to come. So, but anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Venom number 18. Where we left off, after a fight in Limbo with Darkoth, Venom ended up, or Eddie Brock, ended up in the depths of the universe where a giant floating hand welcomed him. The Olapoth of Omega, the true home of the King in Black. But it is not a throne room, it's an engine room. And so the hand asks what work needs to be done. Eddie's got 5 questions. Asks about Dylan. Sees a vision of Dylan beating on Gold Goblin. But he asks questions about how he can get back to Dylan and basically fix everything, and also trying to avoid becoming Meridius. But we learn more about Null. And while there's the King in Black, there are also the Kings in White, the Beyonders. And it ties into the 2 different types of magic. Light magicians, affecting the world from a place outside and above it. Finally, dark magicians, changing the world from its broken heart. The Beyonders are much more akin to the light magicians. But we find out that the Celestial that Null killed, whose head became nowhere, when the Celestials went to him, it wasn't just... They were going to recruit him. Ask him to basically turn him into a new Celestial. But upon hearing all of this, Eddie remarks that, maybe it should have been Spider-Man who was the King in Black. But apparently he was born for the role. But life happened, and he's not there. Eddie is. This version of Eddie has to be called the Eventuality, explaining that with Eddie being kind of dislodged from time, it's a maze basically, and he's seen some of how it goes, but there's still a lot of different paths to take, which leads to seeing various versions of Venom. Usually appears to be the Venomverse, so to speak. Got a Wolverine Venom, a Cap Venom. But but Eddie comes to realize what it is he's going to need to do. Basically, he's got to go back to Earth and kick his own ass, or rather, kick his own ass in general, is how he puts it. And that is where the issue ends, along with the saying to be continued. Venom is definitely, the Donny Cates run is phenomenal, hands down. Al Ewing's run is turning out to be just as good. It's nice to see. It's nice to see a Venom book that does more with Venom than just, oh yeah, he used to be one of Spider-Man's big time enemies. Now he's kind of an ally. It's nice to see Venom stories move beyond that. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Spider-Gwen Shadow Clones, number 2. Where we left off, After encountering a clone of herself and Doc Ock, Spider-Gwen, having managing to talk some sense into Gwen Ock, took Gwen Ock to her Earth, Reed Richards. And yes, it turns out that Ock Gwen was being mind controlled. However, another Gwen clone showed up. This time, Sandman. So, Spider-Gwen gets Reed out of his apartment. He asks that she save his laptop. It's kind of high end and, well, wouldn't be easy to replace. But Spider-Gwen suggests they get Sandgwen out of Reed's apartment. However, in an open space, Sandgwen's a little harder to deal with. They enter a subway, and Sandgwen escapes. Gwen's trying to get convince Reed to, maybe not be too involved in this for his own safety, but he's just like, yeah, no, I'm too curious at this point. Gwen and Spider-Gwen talk about things. They also stop a bunch of bougie criminals. And it turns out that Ock Gwen does have Gwen's memories. Back at home, Gwen makes some frozen pizza, and Mateo, her co-worker that she's definitely got a crush on, shows up. Apparently she missed her shift at work, and he says that they have a date to finish. But we learn that Gwen also has some of Doc Ock's personality traits as well. More along his superiority stuff. So, but they managed to. Stark Industries is where Sandgwen is heading. They have apparently Gwen was supposed to steal a solid-state quantum power source, and now Sandgwen is trying to do the same. Spider-Gwen and Gwen prevent the theft of the power device, and they fight Sandgwen with some of a plan and manage to remove the halo from her, noting that Sandgwen never fully turns into sand. Her head stays solid. But the mastermind behind all this sees her plan fail yet again, and opts to this time send out three clones at once. Rhino Gwen, Vulture Gwen, and Gwen the Hunter. And that is where the issue ends. I'm liking this miniseries. I think my only issue at the moment is the fact that it seems Marvel can't make up their minds as to whether or not Spider-Gwen is Ghost Spider or Spider-Gwen. I get it, marketing for, Into the Spider-Verse, so we'll likely be seeing a Spider-Gwen for a little while. But anyway, moving on though to our next book, we've got Star Wars number 33. Where we left off, one of the killbots in No Space crushed Luke Skywalker's right hand and his lightsaber. Thankfully, his right hand is the one that he lost in his duel with Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back, so it's the prosthetic. However, he manages to use the Force to get rid of all the killbots and retrieve the Book of Jedi teachings. Everyone returns to the Keswick colony. And Luke explains to Lando that he knows that there's something he has to do when they get back. Face Darth Vader. But they got the Path engine, and Captain Blythe tells the people of the Cataract Colony what's up. And Leia says, "Yeah, hey, you're welcome to come back with us. Though you should know things may not be entirely great. If you want to stay here, we understand completely." Lando kind of picks up on it and says, "Yeah, let's level with them, explaining that they're criminals. Depending on who you ask, like they're the ones that are fighting the tyranny, and going into just, the Empire is incredibly powerful. You know it." The odds are against the rebellion, and if the rebellion loses, the Emperor's gonna have everyone executed. But it's discussed, and at least some of them are going to go back. Holdo and Lando talk about things, and Lando suggests, maybe staying in no space wouldn't be with no, not having a reputation to keep up isn't such a bad idea. But Holdo decides she's not staying. She's going back because she's just getting started. But at least some of the Keseret colony will go back, and a large portion of the fuel they had will be given to the rebellion. But it works. The path that they get back to regular space, and right where the rebel fleet is. So, but and for the first time, Lando refers to the Rebel Alliance as us, which Holdo notices, and he thinks, maybe that's not such a bad idea. Maybe I should continue with that. Luke gets a new prosthetic hand, and talks about how the Force seems to be coming in waves, but adding that. But Leia points out, well, if you're kind of feeling in waves, then the same thing would be happening with Vader and the Emperor. We've probably just got things will probably be actually. This would probably be a great way to actually go after the Empire. Luke agrees, but even though Artie's been trying to fix his yellow lightsaber, he knows he's gonna have to build a new one, and that is where the issue ends. In some ways, this series, it's at least at this point, it is kind of hard to get in. It's a little hard to get invested when you already know, yeah, it's going to. But at the same time, you know how things are going to resolve. But at the same time, you're getting, at this point at least, background for times that weren't portrayed in the movies. So yeah. Moving on though to our last book for the moment, we've got Star Wars Hidden Empire, number 5, wrapping up the Crimson Dawn trilogy. Where we left off, the Fermata Cage had been opened on a Maxine station, was being defended by Crimson Dawn soldiers. But Vader and the Emperor arrived on the station and to confront what's in the Fermata Cage themselves, as well as dealing with the Crimson Dawn soldiers. Apparently, the Emperor has missed dealing with things directly. But Dr. Aphra shows up with the Spark Eternal and utilizes. The Emperor tells Vader to deal with her. She has. And she manages to actually disarm him for a moment, but Vader's able to use the Force to expel the Spark Eternal from her, and she does the smart thing and runs. But Vader joins the Emperor, waiting for whatever's in the Fermata cage. And all that comes out is a small token. Turns out there was nothing in the Fermata cage. The whole plan was get them to it, and then shut them inside, which that seems to be what they're trying to do. It almost works until the Knights of Ren interfere and basically free Vader and the Emperor by destroying by closing the Fermata cage, which also leads to the destruction of the Crimson Dawn fleet. Those that aren't destroyed in the shockwave of the explosion are picked off by the Imperial fighters. And the Knights of Ren aren't exactly warmly thanked for helping Vader and the Emperor. In fact, the Emperor gives him a taste of Force lightning. Cordelia is given basically all of Crimson Dawn's financials and the choice. Basically live your life the way you want to. You're free. Years later, we found out that the recordings that have been narrating the entire thing were being watched by Luke and Leia. And it's pointed out that actually Kira did kind of succeed, because if it wasn't for what was going on with Crimson Dawn, the Rebels never would have learned of the second Death Star, never would have, and the Emperor, or at least they never would have learned about it until it was too late, and that's where the Emperor was killed, and that's where the Emperor and Vader died. So it did kind of work. Though Leia says that she wishes Kira could have seen the Rebels win, though it turns out that she did in a cantina on an unspecified world where she watched from a dark booth while everyone celebrated. And that is where the series, as well as the Crimson Dawn arc within the Star Wars comics, ends. And that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal will be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.